So the Department of Labor, as many small business owners are aware, has increased the salary requirements for exempt employees. This means that as an employer, you're going to have to do something to maintain compliance if your exempt employees are making less than what the new requirement will be. As I mentioned in a previous video, you can either increase the annual salary to meet the new requirements, which of course is an easy fix, but may not be cost effective. You can change your salaried exempt employees to salaried non-exempt, which means that they'll have to track hours and you'll have to pay them overtime, or you can just completely change them to hourly non-exempt. So in order to help navigate this decision and really put that into dollars, I've created a spreadsheet that will help you determine what will work best for your business. And I'll share that now. So with this calculator here, you would just input the employee's annual salary and then probably 40 hours per week, but maybe not for regular, and then overtime hours per week. So how many hours on average does this employee work overtime? So once we put that in, you can see if we pay this employee $20.13 per hour, and they continue to work 42 hours per week, with 2 being overtime, then they will maintain an annual wage of $45,000. Now down here, what we're looking at is if we take the annual salary, and again, this is coming from up here, if we take the annual salary and account for the overtime, the anticipated overtime that the employee will be working, then we get this hourly rate, which is just the annual divided by 2,080. So 52 weeks, 40 hours per week. But then the annual pay is $48,375. So in this scenario, with an employee working on average 2 hours of overtime per week, they will make an additional $3,375 per year. So this would really help, number one, to see what you're really paying the employee. So if you're paying them, X amount and they work X amount of overtime hours, what are you really paying them per hour now? And you can continue to use that rate and move them to hourly non-exempt. And then you should pretty much keep your costs flat as long as they don't end up working more or less overtime than anticipated. Or you can use this bottom row here to determine what your cost increase will be if you do the traditional calculation of hourly rate, which again is annual divided by 2,080. That gets the hourly rate here of $21.63. And then we factor in those overtime hours to see what the employee will end up getting paid. And so you can see with just a couple more overtime hours per week, the cost goes up pretty significantly. So here with 5 hours of overtime per week, they are at $53,437.50, which is $8,000 more than what they're currently being paid. So this is looking at the information in 2 different ways. Again, up here at the top, you could either call this what they're making now on an hourly basis or the hourly rate to pay them to keep your costs flat. Depending on how good the employee is at math, that may not go over well, especially if you have employees that are working a significant amount of overtime. But as the employer, at least you know what you're truly paying them per hour now, and or what that rate would be if you want to keep your costs flat and move them to hourly non-exempt. And then again, here in the second calculation, we are still looking at the same salary, same regular, same overtime hours, but here the hourly rate is just calculated based on a 40-hour work week. Basically, we're taking the 45,000, dividing by 2,080, which again is 40 hours a week, 52 weeks in a year. But then we are taking into account these 5 hours per week paid at time and a half. And that's how we get this increased annual pay amount. So there are notes here on what each of the scenarios are calculating. We just thought it would be super helpful to not just go over the new requirements, but how can you actually implement some sort of change, and what is that going to cost you as an employer? And then again, of course, the third option is just to increase the salary, but that is going to go up to over $58,000 as of January 1st, 2025. So we are based in the Midwest, and that is going to affect a lot of people because there are tons of people that are salaried exempt making less than $58,000, at least in our area. So if you would like a copy of this spreadsheet, if you think it would be helpful, we'd be happy to send that to you. You can fill out our contact form online at valorpayrollsolutions.com, or you can send an email to info@valorpayrollsolutions.com, and we can get this over to you. If you just have general questions or even concerns, or maybe just want to express how you feel, you can certainly drop that below and we will get back to everybody. We are here to help navigate these changes. These are big ones. So make sure that you're paying attention, that you are figuring out how you're going to maintain compliance with these changes. And again, at the end of the day, we are here to help support you and navigate through this as we keep getting these changes tossed at us back to back to back this year. As always, valorpayrollsolutions.com is where you can find us, and we look forward to helping you.